from Mia Thrives. I'm really excited to chat with you guys today about a new free downloadable resource that we have on the Mia Thrives website, and that is a birth plan template, or rather a birth preference template. So I'm gonna just chat a little bit about how I filled in my PDF, and maybe it will give you some ideas on how you want to fill yours out if you're pregnant. So I'm 36 weeks pregnant. The reason that we've chosen birth preferences and not birth plan is because it is incredibly hard to plan your birth, right? Everyone's different. Every baby comes differently, kind of on their own terms. So personally, what I try to do is be kind of open-minded, have a loose plan, and at least have preferences for what I would prefer. And also with EB and not knowing if the baby has EB or not, that definitely altered my birth plan, birth preferences. So just to start, so this PDF is blank, and then you can fill it out and print as many copies as you need to give to your doctors or to just have on hand at the hospital for any nurses who come in. So due date, patient, your doctor, your support people, what subtype of EB you have, just a little bit of information about EB, and then it starts with EB care notes. So my personal EB care notes is please try to not remove anything sticky from my skin. So I originally was saying, oh, don't put anything sticky on my skin, but after doing some research, I kind of weighed out that it might be worth the risk of losing some skin rather than the risk of, say, infection. For example, if you get an epidural, they generally stick this really big sticky piece of, I don't even know what it's called, but they stick this thing on your back. So it could potentially be a little bit difficult to remove, but your spinal cord is, the last place that you would want an infection, so I don't think that I would risk using my bandages that are potentially a bit more breathable. So I'm gonna just give that a go personally. And another thing is the blood pressure bands, to please not put them directly on my skin, but over a shirt or a piece of material. Be extra careful moving me and avoid any friction. For example, can't be dragged down on a bed. And in case of emergency, use a small tube in my throat and insert it very slowly. So for pain management, I would personally like to try to let labor progress as long as possible without medication, to try to move around, use a peanut ball, use an exercise ball. And if labor is prolonged, because who knows, it's my first, I don't know how long it's going to go on for, so then I would be open to an epidural, but would like to avoid a catheter. And there are certain drugs that I know that I would like to avoid because in previous surgeries I haven't reacted well to them. So for an example is I personally don't like laughing gas. So I have the drugs that I am avoiding using on my birth preference plan. So originally, when I was trying to figure out what we were going to do, it was recommended that I have a scheduled C-section. But then in some of the research I did, I actually found this study in Australia that seems to be one of the first extensive studies on EB and pregnancy, that so many women with EB were able to have a vaginal birth with few complications. So I will link that study below if anyone is interested in giving that a read. But I think that gave me a little bit of confidence to give that a try myself. The only complication with that is, since we don't know if the baby has EB or not, there can be no use of forceps or the vacuum, because that could be very harmful for the baby's skin. So for me, that's something that's really important. So in the event that it's not coming out on its own, can't be assisted, it will just have to be a C-section. And more preferences is, I would like to just try different positions. You can ask for warm compresses, and there's been some research, the warm compresses for assistance can help reduce tearing, so that is worth a try. And my afterbirth preferences is skin on skin. My husband would like to cut the umbilical cord. So these are just good notes for them, whatever your preferences are, just to know how you hope it's going to go down, and not that one of the nurses cuts the cord because they don't know that your support person wants to do it. And then I have a note that my mother will be in the waiting room, and in case of a worst case scenario that the baby's born without a large section of skin and needs to be rushed to the NICU, my mom's going to be waiting right in front of where the NICU is, so she can follow them along in there and assist with any bandaging, because since she took care of me as a newborn with EB, she is quite a pro with bandaging and assisting, and since the nurses at the hospital have never dealt with it before, she's going to be a great resource. And one other thing to mention is, with COVID, generally the hospitals now are only letting one support person, but I did get an exception to have my mother there, not in the birthing room, but at the hospital, just to assist with that bandaging. So if you have a similar situation, I would just recommend trying to get it sorted out well in advance, so that when the big day comes, you're just good to go and you're not stressed out about getting anything in order. And then some notes for the baby's care is to treat the baby as if they have EB until it is confirmed that they don't or do, or it could be obvious right away at birth, but sometimes babies don't present right away. So until we know for sure, we still need to treat the baby like they have EB, even if there's no open wounds. And one of those things, other than being extremely gentle, is not scooping the baby up under the armpits, but scooping them like underneath their back, so it is less pressure under their armpits and hopefully won't cause blistering. Nothing sticky on the baby's skin, and no hospital band. And I'm also bringing some sheepskin to put in the bassinet. And another note about that is, for the genetic testing, we are right away at birth having the blood taken from the umbilical cord, because it's just one less prick that they need on the baby, and then they won't have to stick a Band-Aid or something on the baby right away. So if you want genetic testing, that is something that you can ask for. And then in the additional notes, we are just asking, and we already put in a request at our hospital to have a private room, and our reasoning behind this is our baby could have a weaker immune system if they have EB, so we are limiting visitors and trying to just be as careful as we can in those first few days. And also just thanking all the doctors and nurses at the hospital who have already been helping us along the way. So that is my birth preferences. I hope going through this gave you guys some ideas if you are working on your own plan. And yeah, so I have DDEB. Some of this stuff might be completely different for other forms of EB, but we would absolutely love to hear from you if you filled this out, or if you would just like to share any tips and tricks that you have. Thanks, guys.